Hello, my name's Andy Latham, and I want to welcome you to our course on the chart control within Application Designer. And in this course, we're going to be discussing the chart control, how it works and what it's capable of doing. And we'll be developing, as we have with other courses, some worked examples for you. Just as with the other courses, there are some prerequisites. You should be familiar with these now, but the key one is that you should have done the data handling course before doing this. We will be discussing the use of custom data sources and business object data sources, so you'll need to be aware of those. So what are we going to do? We're just going to have a quick overview of what the chart control is. We'll be discussing terminology and how different diagrams and series work together. We'll discuss data binding and how we populate the forms, and then we'll move on and get cracking and develop a few sample apps so that you can get some experience with it. So let's go and see what a chart control actually looks like. Here are some examples, and in these examples you can see bar charts and pie charts and bubble charts, Gantt charts, stacked bar charts, and even a 3D torus chart here, which has the features where you can actually pick it up and rotate it and slide some of these slices out and so on like that. So as a way of presenting data to a user, they're a really effective way of consolidating data and trying to point a user to something that doesn't actually look right. In this application down here, for instance, we've got two chart controls. We've got a single chart or single diagram here with a stacked bar chart, and in this control we've got up to 3 graphs in that control. So let's have a look at some of the chart basics. Each chart's control, and by that I mean as you add it to your application, it will create a single pane, can have up to 4 diagrams. So in the layman's terms, really, that could look like 4 different graphs. It can have up to 4 series of data coming at it, and therefore you might assume a single bit of data going to a single diagram and creating in this case 4 charts. But in fact what you can do is have more than one series of data going into a diagram. So you can have for instance multiple lines on a line chart, up to 4 of them. You might mix and match data sets or data series onto stacked bar charts and so on like that. So it's really very effective. The chart is populated by a single XML string. We'll be seeing shortly that these will be coming from custom data sources and business object data sources, and all the data for that control comes from those data sources. And there are some built-in drill down functions for each data series. Now, those of you, hopefully all of you, who've done course 1 and course 2, we will have been through some fairly complex VB script showing you how you can drill down from charts and things like that. Now that VB script is still pertinent, but you'll find in the chart control now, what we have built into it is a far simpler way of being able to take data from the chart and drill straight down onto other controls within the app. So the next thing to discuss is that topic of data binding, that is sending the data to your chart controls. The chart control is populated by a single XML string. So if you've got multiple series of data populating different graphs in your control, all the data for all the data series must be in that XML string. The format is, as we see here, each data point that you are graphing will have a label and a value, and 2 bits of key information for drill down. Obviously, if you're doing developing in VB script, you would be creating an XML string in your script looking like this. But the data sources, both the business object one and the custom data source, create this pre-formatted string for you automatically. The 2 pieces of key data that you see there can be passed along with the primary key for the app into either other controls or Syspro programs to allow you a drill down capability straight from the graph, so that you'll see, and we'll see this in the worked examples where we will be drilling down to Syspro programs and list views and things like that. Typically, though, data for each point on a graph is obtained from repeating rows of data. We call them multi-row data. So as an example, customer invoices, you've got an invoice per row, and therefore a query or a business object can sort of say, for this customer, I've got multiple rows of invoices, and therefore relatively easy to chart the points on maybe the invoice value, for instance. But there are cases within Syspro and indeed other databases where the columns that you want to chart are actually on a single row. And we see this, for instance, in the general ledger and in the histories files of customers, where the customer information might be period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4 as a column name, but it's only on one row. And we will see how we can handle those as well. So let's have a quick look at what we mean. This is multi-row data. We can see the multiple invoices in a business object here coming through. And indeed, if it were a direct SQL query using a custom data source, we can see that there are multiple rows of data. So actually being able to tell a data source for every row, please generate an XML element looking like this is actually very, very easy. However, if we have multi-column data, as we find here, so this is in ARSQRY, we can see we have a single sales history element and all the column names are named differently. And we see the same here in maybe the general ledger, where we see general ledger code and we've got all the closing balances for that year as columns. Then we will see that how the app designer and the chart control can handle those as well. So that's a quick run through of some of the basics. What we're going to do now is get cracking with building an app, and it'll all become clearer, one hopes.